outside the Telengana pavilion right now, and inside we are told the Minister, KT Rama Rao, is engaging in lots of interesting conversations. Let's get inside and find out what those are all about.
The way to think of EVs is a lot of people make this mistake of assuming that EV is a variation of an automobile. It's not. In fact, if you ask me, EV is a computer on four wheels. So therefore, there's a lot of electronics, there's a lot of coding, a lot of software embedded inside inside something that looks like an automobile. So therefore, any OEM who's looking to expand and who's thinking of EV hub, I'd say my state is the best because we have the talent pool, which is much needed to actually create the next gen EVs, and a lot of research and development that has to go on. If you have to remain on the cutting edge of autonomous driving, of number of other things that are being seen across the world. In fact, I have to share with you, large number of EV companies have already set up their research and development facilities in Hyderabad. Fisker is a large...
But are we just compiling things together, or are we actually producing them when it comes to batteries also?
They're currently involved in research and development, which is of course all on their computers. But eventually the hope is that they will also start looking at manufacturing, because once you have that ecosystem, once you have the research and development wherewithal, I think the automatic extension of that would be setting up a base. And manufacturing is also happening simultaneously. So it's an ideal combination between the two of them.
Right. Since you said EV and sustainability is such a huge cause as well, I just want to understand your concerns on batteries. I mean, we're still dealing with a lot of shortages that have happened, semiconductors, China lockdown, all of that still contributing to it. Is that a space India and maybe Telangana also wants to capture? Like, one of the major takeaways from the pandemic was that, Atmanirbhar is something that Prime Minister also talks about. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, in fact, we as a state, we have an entity called as the TSMDC, the Telangana State Mineral Development Corporation. We have entered into an MOU with Bolivia for lithium. So we are one of those few states in India which actually took cognizance of the shortage or future needs, and therefore we have entered into a direct MOU on a G2G. So we are doing some things which probably nobody else in India is doing. And in my humble opinion, while lithium is important, I think also a lot of innovation that's happening on sodium and a bunch of other new minerals, I think is also equally impressive. And that's one of the things I'm going to explore in Davos, because a lot of innovators who are doing very, very cutting edge things on mobility, on EVs are here. We are in fact meeting with them. We are even in fact planning a mobility roundtable. Yeah. So hopefully some very interesting learnings for us.
Yeah. What happened to Elon Musk and your tweet of inviting him to come and invest in Telangana? Any replies over there?
Well, we've had a discussion right after that.
Oh, you did happen to speak with him?
Yes, of course. We spoke to his team and a number of his teammates. In fact, we met with them. We had a discussion. But unfortunately, Government of India seems to be fixated on this notion of not wanting cars made in China to be imported into India, and that's what I think is putting him off, because in his opinion, while his lowest model costs anywhere around $40,000, he wants to explore and understand the market appetite in India firstly before he starts manufacturing. So therefore, it's a chicken or egg kind of a challenge right now, where I think both government and him are trying to play the game of blink, or literally see who's going to blink first, I guess. But the point is, whether or not Tesla invests in India, whether or not Elon comes to India, the fact is the EV ecosystem is shaping up really well. And I think the first mover will certainly have an advantage, and Elon also should not miss out on this, because India is a huge market. End of the day, 1.3 billion, large middle class, upwardly mobile, per capita is rising, and therefore I think it's a story that nobody can really ignore.
All right, Elon Musk, if you're watching this, get the message straight up from here. Thank you so much for your time, sir. The Telangana state that we've been covering here at Davos has been talked about for their IT agenda, for EV, also for pharma. But joining us now is the director for EV, and I want to understand from him how exactly this entire revolution is happening in the state.
Yeah, I'm Sujai Karampuri,
Yeah.
Director Electronics and EV for the state, for the government of Telangana. So, as you had asked me, where are we in terms of the manufacturing and how does this fit into the ecosystem and what we're trying to do? So I think, see, if you look at it from a different perspective, see, we did not have a lot of automotive manufacturing in the state. It's a legacy issue. But EV is a new opportunity. EV is a new opportunity for manufacturing because it combines software, electronics and mechanical. And a lot of it is actually electronics and a lot of it is also software. So, whereas traditionally most of the motors or cars that we see were considered mechanical only. And this is kind of transformative. And therefore what we are trying to do at Telangana is trying to become the leaders or the pioneers in this space and to make Telangana the hub for EV ecosystem in India. And one of our vision statements is that to make Telangana the most electrified state in the country.
Right. Telangana already known for its pharma revolution.
Yes.
It's known for IT mostly, but this is a space that you're trying to capture. It also
Yes.
has competition going on with several other states
Yes.
right now. Everybody trying to do that. What is the edge that Telangana has?
Super. See, you can't treat EV just like any other industry in the sense that, oh, I go after one plant and therefore I'm in the game. No. You have to see it in a very holistic and comprehensive way, and that's what I think we are very different from every other state. So what we are doing is we are capturing the entire gamut. So for example, we are taking care of advanced cell chemistry. So there are 3 companies trying to make investments into the state: cathode company, anode, and the electrolyte. All the 3 of them put together make a cell. Then there are companies which are investing into Telangana, which take the cell and make a battery packs. Then BMS, which is battery management solutions, which is electronics. Then we also have charging infrastructure companies. Exicom is setting up in Telangana. Then we have bus manufacturing companies, Electra and Mitra. Then we have 3-wheeler, Gayam. Then we have 2-wheeler, 4-wheeler companies. And then there are many other associated industry that needs to come with it. We are taking care of those as well. Now, in addition to all of this, we are probably one of the very few states which is signing up with another country which has got access to the lithium salts, so that we sign an MOU, and then that gives access to our entrepreneurs to take the lithium carbonate and then refine it. So I think
what you really have is an entire ecosystem that you want to build.
Yes.
From the genesis of that cell to finally that car on the road.
Exactly.
That's what you're trying to do.
And this is one step. And the second thing is on the adoption side. And the adoption side, of course, there are other states which have rolled out subsidies and incentives so that people can buy electric vehicles. But if you take a look at Telangana, Telangana is poised to become the most electrified state because we are energy surplus. See, when we got started as a state, we had an installed capacity of 5,000 megawatts. Now we are more than 18,000 megawatts. We have more than...
At a time when energy crisis is taking place across the globe,
we are the only ones who do not go through a crisis, Telangana. We are energy surplus. And out of this 18,000 megawatts, 20% of it comes from solar. We are the second largest solar energy producing state in the country.
On the issue of batteries, which is pretty much the heart of how the entire EV revolution is going to work, I want to understand what is India doing to become the China of batteries.
So, Sonal, I think you asked me...
And how's Telangana leading
yes.
that race? Yeah.
So, in semiconductor, right, I think it is already late. We should have had the semiconductor industries reproducing our chipsets so that our dependence on few countries is kind of limited. So what this time around, I think we are going to get our act right. I think we are doing that. The central government has rolled out a very solid package and policy. State governments are also embracing it, and there are very big business houses who are stepping into it to make the semiconductors. So it's going to be taken care of. That's number one. Number two, coming to the electric vehicle, as you rightly said, there are few essential things. One of them is battery. So many of the companies are getting into the cathode, anode, electrolyte cell manufacturing in this country. And these are all advanced cell chemistry. It's not like we don't have this expertise. We do. It's just that they need to enter this domain, which they are getting into. So I think we are not going to lose out on the battery. So I think within few years, we are going to have most of our batteries produced in the country. That's number one. Number two, in the motor, electric motor is a very old technology, but it has to be adapted or changed or modified for the electric vehicle. And the number of moving parts is very less compared to an internal combustion engine. Therefore, the operating expenditure for a person using electric vehicle drastically comes down. Like we take our car or motorbike for servicing, like every year or every few months. This would not be the case with electric vehicle. So buying an electric vehicle actually turns out to be cheaper. Even though initially you may pay a little more right now, but maybe within few years it might be cheaper even to buy it. But operating wise, it's going to be really cheap from service point of view. Second, think about it. No more gasoline. We produce so much energy, so it's going to be cheaper for the consumer.
Right. So the benefits of EV one can really talk about. The second thing is also going to be adoption, and that really depends on the value the consumer at the end of the day is going to see in it. We understand lots of policies, taxes have already been reduced, first by the state government, then by the center as well.
Yes.
So how exactly are you engaging on those fronts?
I think as a country, as a central government, what we are doing is we are giving subsidies under FAME 1 and FAME 2 subsidies, which are given to the person who purchases. So there are certain subsidies that a bus maker, a bus buyer would get, a two-wheeler purchaser would get, and that's coming from the central government. The state governments have stepped forward to completely waive off the taxes. The registration tax, the lifetime tax, they have made zero. So
road tax?
The road tax is made zero. So what happens is when you do this, the cost of the electric vehicle for a purchaser comes down. So we are trying to make it easy for them. Even for the charging station, people who want to install charging station, there are a lot of subsidies in terms of the capex subsidy, in terms of the taxation subsidy. So we are trying to lower the barrier for all of these people so that the proliferation happens. And I think as a country, we are moving in the right direction. I think we'll also learn from the first 3-4 years and may tweak our policies and taxation, subsidies a bit, and then keep on doing this.
Right. But I think where the state government really wants to go with this is become a hub for manufacturing as well.
Yes.
And then ensure that there is enough demand that can actually roll out. I spoke with the minister earlier and we did talk about his very interesting tweet to Elon Musk where he said that he must come and make his Tesla factory in here. So what kind of employment generation are we seeing from the EV industry?
So I think the EV industry would typically generate an employment about, I would say, like little closer to automotive industry and maybe even higher than automotive industry matching the electronics industry. So for example, in our state, we are looking at adding about additional employment of about 60,000 people right now. And over a period of time, 6 lakh people in this industry, EV industry. So it's the motor, the magnet, the cell manufacturing, the automotive components. So it's quite large when you really think about it. The brakes and everything, of course, they exist, but it's going to create a new generation, which is like battery management system and so on.
Last question really on this. I want to understand the burning issue really of battery fires that has remained. What exactly is the government doing? How worried are you? What are the steps you're going to take that doesn't happen?
Okay, I think I would not look at it as a big worry. I think it's some of the teething problems. Like, when you take on a new revolution, people go through this cycle of learning, and then from those learning from the mistakes, we tend to do things better. So what has happened is that some of the electric vehicle makers, they have kind of brought in not the best batteries, number one, and not the best battery management system. So they need to work on both. And our certification agencies have to take this into account and make sure that the testing for those conditions are also incorporated, by which we will obviate this problem. I think it's just a matter of learning, and I think this is going to be a phase we would just forget within few years.
Also, there has to be perhaps an interesting balance between making more homegrown indigenous batteries and also meeting standards. How are you going to do that?
I think the best way to do it is that classify what kind of battery and the configurations are we going to allow, and make sure that they are thoroughly tested. That means our certification should make sure that none of the inferior batteries enter into the market.
All right. Thank you so much, Sujai.
Thank you so much, Sonal. Thank you.